Imagine trying to build a skyscraper, but there is no solid ground. Your construction site is surrounded by waves. The wind can change without warning, and some of the components you need to lift weigh hundreds of tons. Now imagine doing all of that dozens of miles from shore. This is offshore wind construction. Modern offshore turbines are enormous. Some use rotors nearly 236 meters across. A single blade can stretch approximately 115 meters from root to tip. And before that turbine can generate a single watt of electricity, engineers have to transport its enormous components out to sea, build a foundation in the seabed, raise a specialized ship above the waves, and assemble the entire machine with extraordinary precision. So, how do they do it? And how can a ship possibly lift components this large while floating in the ocean? The answer begins long before the turbine ever reaches the water. A giant offshore wind turbine doesn't arrive at sea fully assembled. That would be practically impossible. Instead, its major components are manufactured separately. There is the foundation, the tower, the nacelle, which contains major generating equipment, the hub, and 3 enormous blades. These components are transported to a staging port close to the offshore wind farm. And this port is very different from an ordinary marina. The quayside has to support extremely heavy loads. Huge storage areas are required for tower sections and blades. Special cranes and transporters move components around the terminal, and everything must be arranged in exactly the right sequence, because once the installation vessel arrives, time becomes incredibly expensive. Every hour matters. The ocean doesn't care about a construction schedule. Before a turbine can rise above the water, engineers need something strong enough to hold it. For many offshore wind farms in relatively shallow water, that foundation is a giant steel cylinder called a monopile. Think of it as an enormous hollow steel stake. An installation vessel carries the monopile to its precise location. Positioning systems guide the vessel into place. The monopile is lifted vertically. Then engineers lower it toward the seabed. And now comes one of the most violent stages of the entire construction process. A gigantic hydraulic hammer can drive the pile downward. Again, and again, and again, forcing it deep into the seabed. Every strike transfers enormous energy into the steel. But engineers can't simply hammer until it looks deep enough. The foundation has to reach its engineered embedment depth. Its vertical alignment is continuously monitored. If the foundation is significantly out of tolerance, installing everything above it becomes much more difficult. Once the monopile is secure, the connection structure can be prepared for the tower. The foundation is now ready. But there is still nothing resembling a wind turbine above the water. That is where one of the strangest construction ships ever built enters the picture. This is a wind turbine installation vessel. And at first glance, it looks like a cargo ship carrying an impossibly large crane. But look more closely. When the ship reaches a turbine location, thrusters and dynamic positioning systems help place it precisely. Then those legs begin descending, down through the water, until they reach the seabed. And then something remarkable happens. Instead of the legs continuing downward, the ship begins moving upward. Powerful jacking systems lift the entire hull out of the water. The vessel transforms from a ship into a temporary offshore construction platform. Why? Because waves are a major problem for heavy lifting. A floating ship rises, falls, rolls, and pitches.
Even small movement at deck level can become dangerous when a crane is holding a component high above the vessel. But once the jack-up vessel is elevated above the waves, it creates a much more stable working platform. Some modern installation ships have legs well over 100 meters long and cranes capable of lifting thousands of tons. The ocean hasn't disappeared. Engineers have simply engineered around it. Now the logistical puzzle becomes clear. The installation vessel has to carry enormous turbine components from port to the wind farm. Tower sections may be secured vertically. Blades can stretch across much of the available deck space. The nacelle and hub require their own engineered supports. Every component needs a sea-fastening system. Because while the vessel is traveling, those parts can't simply sit loose on deck. They must survive waves, wind, and vessel motion without shifting. Loading the ship becomes a three-dimensional puzzle. Engineers want to carry as many turbine sets as practical per trip. Every additional trip back to port consumes time, fuel, and money. Once loaded, the vessel sails toward the construction site. Then the legs descend, the hull rises, and assembly begins. The first major component above the foundation is the tower. But towers this large are often divided into multiple sections for manufacturing and transportation. The crane lifts the first section from the deck. Slowly, it rises hundreds of feet above the water. Taglines and control systems help limit unwanted movement. The section is carefully aligned with the structure below. Then crews secure the connection using engineered bolted or flanged joints. Next comes another section, and then another, depending on the turbine design. With each lift, the turbine becomes taller, and the crane operator's job becomes more demanding, because at these scales, a small positional error can become a very large problem. The tower is complete, but the most technologically complex component is still waiting on deck: the blades. At the top of the tower sits the nacelle. This is the machinery housing behind the rotor. Depending on the turbine architecture, it contains major electrical and mechanical systems needed to turn the slow rotation of the blades into usable electrical power. And it is huge. Modern offshore nacelles can weigh hundreds of tons. The crane attaches to carefully engineered lifting points. The load rises. Wind speed is closely monitored. The vessel must remain stable. The component must stay under control. Slowly, the nacelle reaches the top of the tower. Crews guide it into position. Connections are made. And suddenly, the structure finally begins to resemble the machine we recognize. But the most spectacular lifts are still to come: the blades. Consider the scale for a moment. On some of today's largest offshore machines, each blade is about 115 meters long. That's longer than an American football field, including its end zones. And despite its enormous size, the blade has to be handled carefully. It is essentially a gigantic aerodynamic structure engineered to flex under load. Depending on the installation strategy, the rotor may be assembled in different ways. In one approach, the hub can be installed first and individual blades lifted one at a time. Special blade lifting tools grip the blade at engineered points. The crane begins the lift, and now weather becomes critical. A 115-meter blade presents an enormous surface to the wind. Even moderate wind can create significant forces. The crane operator cannot simply overpower those forces. Instead, the lift has to occur within an approved weather window. The blade approaches the hub. Teams coordinate alignment. The root connection moves closer, closer, until the bolt pattern can be matched. Then the blade is secured. One blade, then the second, then the third. The turbine is mechanically standing, but it still isn't producing electricity. Below the water is an entirely different engineering system. Each turbine has to be electrically connected. Subsea cables link turbines together in groups. These inter-array cables carry electricity towards an offshore substation or other collection infrastructure. From there, high-capacity export cables carry power back toward shore. And those cables can't simply float on the seabed undetected. Depending on seabed conditions and project design, specialized cable-laying vessels can bury them below the seabed using equipment such as plows, jetting systems, or trenching machines.
So, although the wind turbines dominate everything we see above the surface, a huge part of the wind farm exists where we can't see it, below the waves.
This entire operation has one unavoidable enemy: weather. Wind turbines are built in places with strong winds for an obvious reason, but those same winds can prevent engineers from building them. Crane lifts have operating limits.
Wave height affects vessel operations. Visibility matters. Currents matter. Lightning can stop work. And when conditions exceed prescribed limits, crews may simply have to wait.
This creates what the offshore industry calls a weather window. Engineers study forecasts and determine whether conditions should remain acceptable long enough to complete a specific operation safely. A tower lift might require one set of limits. A blade lift may require another. And once a heavy component leaves the deck, turning back may not be simple. That makes forecasting part of the engineering process. The scale is still increasing. A new generation of wind installation vessels is being designed around turbines of approximately 20 megawatts and beyond. Crane capacities are climbing. Decks are getting larger. Hook heights are increasing. And specialized foundation vessels are being built to handle the massive monopiles required for future projects. This reveals one of the most fascinating truths about offshore wind. Building bigger turbines doesn't only require bigger turbines. It requires bigger ports, bigger cranes, stronger foundations, larger installation vessels, new factories, new transportation systems, and an entirely different supply chain. Increase the scale of one machine, and you have to redesign almost everything around it. From shore, an offshore wind farm can look almost peaceful. Rows of turbines slowly turning on the horizon. But creating that view requires some of the largest mobile machines humans have ever built. Steel foundations driven into the seabed. Ships capable of lifting themselves above the ocean. Cranes handling components weighing hundreds or thousands of tons. Blades more than 100 meters long being connected hundreds of feet above the waves. And beneath everything, a network of cables carrying electricity back toward land. The finished turbine may look simple. 3 blades, 1 tower, 1 generator. But building it in the ocean requires an extraordinary combination of marine engineering, heavy lifting, precision construction, and logistics. And as offshore turbines continue getting larger, the machines required to build them may become even more impressive than the turbines themselves.